Hey everyone, welcome. My name is JR. I'm the founder and owner of Business Leaders Network, and we're here with another roundtable interview where we want to talk to other entrepreneurs who are doing great things out there in the world and making an impact and just want to showcase more about their expertise and how they are there to be able to help you guys. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're a leader and you're looking for opportunities for growth in some aspect of your life or your business or your health or how to make more money or how to build better relationships or how to become healthier, then I want you to listen up and hear what we all have to say. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, I'm glad
Hi.
you guys are here. Cool. Well, Crystal, I'm going to start with you. The very first question I like to ask everyone is tell us more about what you do, what separates you in the marketplace, and what inspired you to get started.
Yeah, I love this question. So I'm Crystal Oaks. I own Oaks Creative House. We are a full service marketing agency based in Edmond, Oklahoma. And we primarily work with small businesses, micro businesses, and startups. And it's kind of a fun way that I got to that place in my business. I was raised by entrepreneurs and I said, I will never own my own business. I want to go work for someone else and I want to clock out at 5 and I want to be done. But what I found as I built a global marketing career, my last corporate job, I was the global director of branding in 22 countries for a nutritional supplement company. And it was great, but it was exhausting and I couldn't put it down. I couldn't put it down because I was kind of addicted to it, honestly. And so I didn't clock out at 5. I didn't go home at 5. I didn't stop thinking about this business and the problems that I was solving for it, but I also wasn't reaping the benefits of being the owner of that business. And so I quit my job after me and my husband got married and I had two incomes. And I quit my job. I doubled my corporate salary my first year freelancing. And I thought, well, I'm kind of onto something. Let me stick with this. And decided to go back to my roots and serve entrepreneurs because what I was hearing in the marketplace is that a lot of agencies weren't set up either pricing structure wise or even the workflow of how the projects were structured or even just the understanding of what small business owners were talking about that they needed help with in their marketing. Agencies weren't set up that way. So I am now on a mission to make sure that my agency always honors that and is able to work with small businesses in ways that makes impact and true movement within their business marketing.
Yeah. So what industries do you like to work with when it comes to small business owners, and what type of marketing do you specialize in?
So we specialize in content marketing. I specialize in organic marketing. I really want to make sure that the lower cost or free ways of marketing is working for someone before they go just pay Meta or Google thousands of dollars every month for ad work. So I work on the foundational aspect of their marketing to make sure that the words are converting. We have their positioning right, their branding's correct, they're visible, it's impactful, all of those types of things. We work with a bunch of different industries. A few of our favorites are just selfishly, I love working with spas. They're very fun. We work with several med spas and massage specialists, anyone kind of in that. I call it healthcare adjacent. They don't all take insurance, but even chiropractors or like wellness experts, direct pay primary care providers, those type of industries. I also really love working with other creatives. It's very fun to build a videographer's website or a photographer's website because you get all that creativity coming all at once. And then one of our other industries that I really just love to work with is people with a personal brand. I am not the marketer for you if you don't want to eventually learn how to get on camera. You don't have to know how to do it today, but if you'll let us coach you to that, then that's what we need. I need your face to be a part of what we're selling because, especially as a small business, that is one of the fastest ways to grow. So I always tell people if you're afraid of that, I'm not the person for you.
Are you more a done for you type service, or are you like a more of like a coaching where you guide people through on what to do?
We're a hybrid, actually. So I have services that work either way, depending on their budget and their own skill set. So one of the things that I help business owners do is evaluate the skill set of themselves and their team, which sometimes is their husband or their sister or their kid, and make sure that we're really leveraging what we could do for their business. If they have a VA who's sitting there for 5 hours a week that I could train to make some social media posts, then they don't need to pay me to do that part. They need to pay me to do strategy work so that we can figure out if that content is landing or how to train those people to do those jobs that they're going to pay probably a little bit less than me. So really we do a hybrid approach to where it really just depends on their goals and their budget.
Love that. Congratulations. Sounds like you have some cool things going on.
Thank you.
Trey, same thing with you. So tell us more about who you are, what you do, what inspired you to get started.
Trey Rush, CEO, PayTech Plus. I've been in this business since 2013. How I got into it's not very interesting, but how I went off on my own kind of is. If you can kind of imagine, if you've ever seen the movie The Incredibles, there's this scene where Bob's in this cubicle at this insurance company, like trying to help this little old lady where his company that he works for is ripping her off and is like, it's like it was frustrating him so much and there was nothing he could do. And that's kind of where I was. I used to work for a large processing company and it was soul sucking. So I went off on my own. I've been doing it ever since, and I've helped hundreds of merchants. And really, I'm more of an agency, so that's kind of the difference. Where if we're going to get to like what makes us different, it's an agency approach versus my competitors like Stripe, Square, QuickBooks. It's mostly just numbers on a spreadsheet. So I just like to work with businesses that want to actually talk to a person.
Hmm. Yeah, so I know a ton of merchant processors, and it's funny because every single one of them are different for in their own way. And there's people that I refer all the time and absolutely love them, and there's people I'm like I would never even mention their name in the room. So what makes you different than all of your competition?
Um, I mean, the easy way to would be the agency approach, but it's the I would say more the consultant like back end thinking that goes into like how their actual customer journey is going to be. I try to be more of a consultant instead of just like I'm going to broker this program for you. For example, we dive more into like what's your refund policies to help resolve to prevent disputes, especially losing disputes. And then, I'm of a contrarian mindset where I believe that at this stage in the game, business owners paying the merchant fees is almost a scam at this point because the customer gets all the protection, all the perks, all the rewards. The business takes all the risk and all the expense. And I just like at this point, it just not. I don't see it as a balanced system at all. So my platforms almost entirely offset the fees to where the customer is paying for that choice that they're making of the payment method that they're using. So that's a big difference.
That's cool. So you offset the fees to the client itself.
Yep,
Are you able to do that with an
absolutely.
NMI?
NMI is it can do it partially. It's not great, but it's not the worst either. So it can be done. I would have to look at what their current capabilities are because they used to only be able to do it on invoicing and not a reoccurring, but they could have changed that.
Okay, yeah, that's who I use, and I push a lot of clients towards NMI. So, but I would love to have that because man, I'm spending thousands of dollars on merchant fees every month. I mean, just hit my account this morning. I was like, man, what was this payment for? It's stupid.
So, so this is kind of embarrassing. I just came to this realization about a year ago. In my whole career, I've always been under the mindset that most merchants are, which is, I'm saving them 3% a lot of times. It's not, it's not nothing. You know what I mean? It adds up at the end of the year. But I'm not making anyone rich or putting them in early retirement or anything, right? But I had a buddy of mine comment on a LinkedIn post, and he's like, man, if I was having to pay the fees, I'd go broke. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, if I sold a golf cart for $10,000, I'm making 1,500 bucks on it. By the time I've paid $300 to process that transaction, it's like 26% of my profit. I went, holy hell, like that is a big deal. You know what I mean? So when you're
Yeah,
measuring against the revenue, it doesn't seem like a big deal on its face, but when you measure it against your actual net profit, what matters, it's a big deal.
it's all the small fees that comes from everywhere. So you got the merchant fees and everything, and then sales fees and taxes, and it's just like, okay, where's the money at? I worked hard to make it. How am I going to keep it? So,
Well, this part will really blow your mind, and I won't take too terribly long on that. But on top of that part, like making business owners understand like the risk side of it. Everyone talks about the rate, but no one really talks about the risk or the relationship when it comes to their processor. So if someone disputes a transaction, and friendly fraud is a major problem right now in the country because it's so hard to prosecute and it's so hard to like prove, where someone delivers a legit service, delivers a great product, but then the customer just decides, I don't want to pay, so they dispute the transaction with their bank just because they're trash or whatever. um, you only have about a 40 to 45% chance of winning that dispute, even if you're in the right. Why is that? Because the customer's bank who issued them the card makes the decision, right? So Who are they going to rule for? You or their customer?
Yeah, I had that
So,
happen. I had that happen to me recently, actually. One of my clients, I helped her get to her very first event. She hired me to help her get from there, and it was like a week or two after she did her event. Like, well, I was already working with her for about 3 or 4 months. After she did her event, she went and disputed the entire payment, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" It was like you did your event, and then it was like after she did her event, no reason at all, she blocked me everywhere. And so it's like I couldn't see her on socials. I couldn't see her. I was like, "What is going on?" And then then I get a letter from my merchant saying like she disputed the payment. I was blown away. I was like, I never had that happen before.
yep.
Fortunately, I'm assuming because it's been 2 or 3 weeks that the money wasn't taken out of my account, so I'm assuming I won it, but they didn't give me any update. But yeah, it's crazy how that works. So yeah, but yeah,
Yeah, it's insane.
the
And you're
relationship
paying.
matters more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, so you're paying, 15, 20, sometimes 30% of your net profit to take that kind of risk when you're processing a transaction. Like that's the main message that I want people to really understand. I'm not saying they shouldn't take cards. You have to take cards really in business, but you shouldn't take on all the expense and the risk. It should be a balanced, equation.
Yeah, I totally get it. Sweet. Well, let's move on to CJ. So, CJ, tell us more about who you are, what you do, what inspires you to get going.
Hi, thank you, JR. My name's Claudia, also known as Coach CJ Massey. I'm the founder of New Body Legacy. And I started New Body Legacy because I try to help people not have to take 10 cups of coffee to get through the day. So I really help high functioning 45 to 65-year-old professionals that are either already in the gym, already working out, or already active and just not seeing progress. I'm a bodybuilder as well. And so the biggest shift that I've seen is that a lot of folks are not considering themselves athletes, but they're in the gym and they're working out and they're making these decisions for their lifestyle changes. So I'm helping them find their identity or reconnect with their bodies and understand like you are definitely working on your longevity, your endurance, your legacy, and then you're passing this on to future generations. So that's a little bit of what I do as a fitness and nutrition coach.
So, what inspired you to get started doing what you're doing?
Oh gosh. I came from the hospice world and I had done that for a very long time, working with um, patients that were in 6 months or less of life. And a lot of times I was working with their adult children. And sometimes they were in town, sometimes they were out of state. And I just realized that there was this common trend that I was sort of a band aid. I was just sort of there for a short amount of time to help with dysfunction or help with a lot of non-compliance or, hey, listen, I'm set in my ways. This is how I want to go. And a lot of times, a lot of these adult children just felt like they were in this sandwich. They lost their identity. They were caregiving for a dying parent. They had kids in college or adults that they were trying to kind of still help out, and they just felt like they were losing themselves. And so, after about 16 years of working with this group, I thought there's got to be a better way to help folks find their balance, right? You can still be a caregiver, you can still help your spouse, you can still be there for your parent, for your children, and you can still be there for grandchildren and not lose yourself in the process.
That's really cool. I love that. I think we all have some sort of health story or example of someone in our life or family member or whatever that we can relate to. And I always say we got one body and one temple and we need to take care of it. So you're either going to pay for it now or pay for it later, but your health is everything to you. And so
Absolutely.
appreciate it with what you're doing. You're doing good things.
Thank you.
Joseph, same question to you, man. Tell us more about what you're doing and how you're making an impact, what inspired you to get started.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. PJ, Crystal, Trey. I guess if this is on replay eventually. What's up, everybody? Uh, I'll start off with saying that God is my CEO and Jesus makes my decisions. He's the boss. I'm just a manager. I'll start off with that. I know not everybody follows him, so I won't share too much of that. I'll just share the story of what happened. You can call it favor, call it luck, call it whatever. I'm going to tell you he did it. But I was in the world like most people, man, and I grew up in the foster care system, grew up being abused and just traumatized and other things of that nature. And it led me down a very dark path. And long story short, I was stabbed 5 times and Christ healed me. And I was facing life in prison. I get out of prison and life just begins to unravel. Eventually, it leads me to where I'm at today. But I get involved in church and it leads me to a national level. And I begin to witness the dark side of the church, bad leadership, hypocrisy, and just the list goes on. And I said, I can't sit under this leadership this way. I just can't in good faith. I have to leave. So after about 2 years, I left. And everything at that point of my life, I was like, headed, running, hit a wall, and kind of got depressed, not sure where I'm going or what I'm doing. And long story short, I meet a man online, and he owns a coaching company. And it's a double comma coaching company, and he helps startup coaches and different things, but he's a faith man. And his entire premise is we have to turn the marketplace into the ministry place. We have to impact lives, even in entrepreneur world. And he was doing really well at what he did, double comma, doing really well. And he held the first 5-day event, a challenge. And I took it. I was like, this is cool, but I don't got no money. And his $10,000 6-month coaching course, I'm like, I don't have it. Long story short, man, favor again. He says, let's just get you in there, see what happens. After about 2 months, he says, I really like you. I want you on my team. So next thing you know, I'm on this board of this double comma team, and I get to start meeting some high up people, and I get business training from a lot of different high up people. And one day the Lord says, okay, put your 2 weeks in. It's time to go build something. Well, in the midst of all of the higher up entrepreneur world, you find, as Crystal and Trey mentioned, lots of drama, right? Pyramid schemes and manipulation and just lies and deceptions and a lot of just different things. And so I wanted to learn, how do we do this right without making entrepreneurs lose money? And so I learned about organic marketing and branding and different things of that nature. And I also realized pastors aren't really getting paid what they should. And so I kind of put them together, right? The entrepreneur world, pastoral world. But then you mentioned fitness. I realized so many entrepreneurs and pastors can't do their job because their body's falling apart. So just mentioning high performing 45 to 60-year-olds. Most 45 to 60-year-olds I know are complaining about their back hurting. Man, I'm in my early 30s and I got a grandbaby, and I have set it out that I'm going to play with my great grandbabies. I'll be running around at the park with them. You ain't going to catch me complaining about my back hurting and I can't pick them up, And so I've created something for builders and visionaries, because regardless of what we're building, whether it's our homes, ministries, in the entrepreneur world, all builders come to this tension where they have a vision, but the movement is fragmented, heavy, slower than it should, a list of things, man. And it's not because something's wrong with them, but it's generally because the vision doesn't move forward with intention alone. It requires structures and directions and proper supports. And so that's what I do. I offer direction, support, and structures to builders and visionaries so that they don't have to follow worldly modalities or burnout or confusion or deception. And they can be there for their family at the end of the day. They can serve God, and God's given us the power to create wealth. And they should be able to hear that and have a proper mindset of finances instead of a slave mentality that I see a lot. But anyways, man, that's pretty much in short. And I kind of shared why I'm here in the midst of that a little bit. So
Yeah, well,
thanks for having me here.
You have a very dynamic story, and I'm a man of faith myself, and I believe that the trials and tribulations and the stories and the things that we go through in life help shape us to where we're at today. And in the entrepreneur world, I'm kind of on a similar mission where I want to help lead other men towards being more bold in their faith, and getting clear on what that calling is in their life, and how to actually live out that call in the mission field, and then how to learn the voice of God. So I love what you're doing. You got some cool things that you're moving, and God's shaking in your life, and it's pretty awesome. I love how bold you are, and for what you're doing, and the stories that you got is going to change lives. So thank you for what you're doing. Kind of going to me, I do multiple different things, but my whole mission is to really build a community of emotionally intelligent servant leaders, and we do so through our Business Leaders Network. And so, from the networking standpoint to really connection and growth and doing things like this, so that way we can really serve and help other people is a big mission of mine. I just love finding heart-centered individuals that are eager to make an impact. But my main core offer really is my one-day events mastery program. And back in 2007, when I got out of the military, I started my first business. It was a martial arts school out of St. Louis, Missouri. Knew nothing about business, barely making $1,000 a month. I hired a coach that I didn't have money to pay for, so I put it on a credit card, and the best $10,000 I've ever paid. And he showed me how to run events. He showed me how to create messages and how to create offers and how to sell to a group. And I was terrified when I hosted my very first event, and it was in 2008, a Bring a Buddy, Break a Board Day, and end up selling over $270,000 in new contract sales from that one event. And that's where my whole life changed. I learned a simple, duplicatable process that I can repeat over and over and over again in any industry. It doesn't really matter what it is, and still be able to have consistent growth for what we do. And that's what I love teaching other entrepreneurs on how to do, is like, how can we create in-person experiences and turn them into opportunity for business growth. Now, there's a lot of great people teaching online content and online webinars and stuff like that, and that's great. We all need to do it. I still do webinars. I still do this type of stuff, virtual, calls and events and things like that. But there's not a lot of people teaching micro in-person experiences. There's people teaching big events, but when I'm talking about micro in-person experiences, these are 30 or less people. And there's a very specific reason why I say 30 people or less, is because when the cost, because when you start getting over 30 people, your cost to host an event can almost double, if not, increase dramatically. Because you go from a space that can host you 30 or less people, but now you got a bigger space that now can host 50 to 200 people, and it just makes that much more complicated and more expensive. But not just that, most people have 30 people in their network that they can get to an event. So the headache of trying to fill an event with more people is hard. And that's the hardest part about any event. But I teach a very specific process, a 4-step framework on what to do, how to fill the event with the right people so they come there primed, ready to buy. And so love working with small business owners on that, on not even just joining our BLN community and our network, but also teaching them how to leverage micro in-person experiences to grow their business, because it's the fastest way that I've been able to do to generate wealth inside of my business, but also to change many people's lives. And so that's what I do. Cool. Well, I'm going to go to the next question. And this one I'm going to start with Claudia with CJ. And tell us one of your best client success stories. Where were they at when you started working with them? What did you help them to achieve by the end of that time of working together?
Yeah, so we're still working together. One of my clients, her name's Sarah. She's a fellow cheer mom. And in the span of a year, she lost her dad to a heart attack. And then she lost her mom within the year. 3 months later, she had a stroke. And so it was like a slow grieving goodbye for her mom. She had to find home care, that she had to find 24-hour nursing, and watch her mom really decline over 7 months, and she lost her. And so she was still working, showing up to work. She was still going to practices. She was still going to competitions with us, and then parenting through shock. So when she came to me, her goal wasn't weight loss. Her goal was survival. And so she was just exhausted. All of my messaging, she just felt like she could relate to it. She felt numb. She just felt completely disconnected with her body. And what broke her heart was that she didn't feel like she could be a parent to her children, who at the time were 12 and 8. And she's a single mom. So this isn't probably a before and after client that you would typically see with a nutrition and fitness coach. This is a going through survival and coming out of that, and now thriving as a parent, and being proud of where she stands, and going through the holidays and not going through her pantry and raving her pantry, and still understanding grief and being able to name it and call it and designate a time for it safely. And so I think some of her biggest wins were consistency. We created anchors. We created lifestyle changes that she could incorporate with her kids. Her kids are now very active in preparing dinner at night. They all eat dinner as a ritual together to connect. They go on walks together. And so I am literally seeing everything I wanted out of New Body Legacy in one little family, very humbly going from grief to and survival to now thriving and legacy building. And these two kids are going to grow up having these amazing rituals and anchors in their own lives and being able to thrive as young adults into their future. And mom, I don't have to worry about mom. I don't have to worry about Sarah. She is going to be just fine once her kids graduate and move on. She is thriving. So I think she's probably one of my favorite clients, favorite success stories, and she still works with me. She's still excited about our check-in every Wednesday, excited to tell me what her wins were. I don't care how small they are. And I think she just needed someone to be there and be accountable, and be dependable and not be scared off by grief, and by anything that would sound sad or sound horrible or make me feel bad. I didn't care. I was like, tell me what's going on. And she felt like it was a safe place. And so that coaching really was my favorite experience to this day.
That's so cool. And it's stories like that that gives us a purpose and drive and reminds us why we're doing what we're doing in the first place. So
yeah,
I love that. You know, I teach martial arts for a homeschooling group, and I've been doing it for about 6 or 7 years now. And I love it. Three of my four kids are been doing it ever since. And you know, every time I teach a class, I teach twice a week. Every time I teach, I'm like, I just want to open. I wish I had a school full time, because I'm watching these kids from like 3 years old, and now some of them are 9 and 10 from when and I've been working with them since they were that young. And it's like, you know, watching them from not even being able to walk straight to now they're like kicking and self-defense and everything else. But I'm like, I'm never give up my nights and weekends again. So,
no,
but I'm always like, but I want to like run it just because it's that purpose, is that drive. And so
yeah,
the story, working with your client and getting that drive to, it's that thing that fuels us when we're seeing. And so seeing that fuel of knowing what she's going through and just the impact that you made in her life is bigger than just teaching her health and wellness and nutrition. It's building a legacy for the family, especially for building the habits of doing family dinners and things like that. I didn't grow up doing family dinners because I grew up in a martial arts school. My mom always had one, and so we would always eat out, or grandma always made dinner, and it was just like grab and go all the time, every day, my entire childhood. And so that's something we do every day at our house, is we always have family meal, like every night for dinner. And so that's cool that you're able to instill that, because it really brings the connection in the family that much greater. So you're making a bigger impact than you even know.
Yeah, it's huge.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
Crystal, let's go to you, and then we'll go to Joseph, and then we'll go to Trey.
Okay. I will also say, okay, that was a very impactful story. I really loved hearing it. My little guy's 2.5, and he cooks dinner with me like, I'm going to say 3 nights a week. It's kind of hard to get a 2.5-year-old to stand there and cook dinner with you. Sometimes he's just eating cheese out of the bag, let's be honest. But he's there and we're doing it together. So I think that it is really important. Okay. So I was thinking about this question whenever you send us over the email, and so many different clients came to mind. I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to narrow down which client I want to talk about? So I pulled my team today and I asked them, I sent them over the question. I said, who should I talk about? And they all came back with the same answer. So I'm going to tell you a story about one of our clients. Her name is Brooke, and she is an estate planning attorney. She actually wrote the will and trust for me and my husband's estate. And she's very, very good at what she does. I had been working with her for several years. We did her logo. We did her first, website that she put up when she decided to branch out on her own and open her own practice, and several years of that. So we finally start talking a little bit more about her getting more serious about marketing now that her business has grown. And I said, well, where we really need to start is at the basics. We need to go back to the beginning, and we need to start with a marketing plan. We need to talk about what makes you different, who you're serving, like why you're doing, what your goals are, because I can't help you get to the end game if I don't know where we're headed. And so we sat down in her office for about a 3 or 4 hour meeting, and we're talking through all these things. We get to the goals section, and she was kind of drawing a blank for a minute on, what do you want your business to be in 5 years? Where do you want your business to be in 10 years? Are you selling this one day? Are you passing it down to kids? Are you like, what does this look like for you? What is the dream? And it's so fun for me to write marketing plans for that discussion, because entrepreneurs, you either see them really light up and they have like an exact answer for those questions, or in this case is a little more, I don't know. I was kind of in survival mode. I was seeing if I was good enough to build a business. And now that I have, I don't know what's next. And I found myself there several times throughout my entrepreneurial journey where I was like, this is the goal. And then you achieve it and you have to think bigger and dream bigger. But how do you do that? So we start talking, and she talks about, you know what? I think I do want to hire associates to work under me one day. I think I do want to have a speaking career where I go and lead workshops about why having your, trust and your estate really mapped out for your family so they don't have to go into probate later is important. I really do want to have that level of impact with my business and who I am. And I love this story so much because since then we have renamed her business. We have completely repositioned so that she is going to be positioned to bring on those associates when she's ready. We have written onboarding, offboarding strategies. We've created lead magnets. We've done a lot of marketing work for her. But my favorite is before we even got the marketing plan finalized, which is typically like a 3-week turnaround, so not anything too crazy. Before we even got it finalized, she was asked to speak at one of the biggest companies, one of the biggest oil and gas companies, about estate planning in the state of Oklahoma. And I love it so much because yes, marketing has its place in business, right? And it's bringing in more people and it's allowing you to do more things when done correctly. However, sometimes it really is those deep discussions and allowing people to dream and allowing people to see where their business could go that actually just creates the confidence within them to go pitch themselves to go speak at that thing, or to think, I could be a boss and hire people under me, or I could grow to this, I could do this thing, and I didn't know that I could do that before. So for me, it's this story specifically of Brooke, but anytime I see the confidence grow in the business owners that I work with, that's everything to me. That's everything that I needed my business to do.
That's a beautiful story. Everything from building that branding to getting her on the stage. That's really cool. Congratulations. Love that story. Joseph, same thing with you. Tell us one of your best client success stories.
Me. I'm the best case study. I mean, everything I've built and everything I've built, I had to go through it first. I mean, I had to learn how to take the vision out of my head and build it and actually do it without burnout and without all the things I said I don't want. And you're talking about family, man. And well, over there, almost last 10 years now, the Lord has allowed me to adopt 5 children. And he says, take care of the orphans. What better way to say, you're not an orphan anymore, come home, right? And so family is a big thing, man. And but while being in full-time ministry, the ministry has gone global. The African portion of our ministry is probably the biggest portion. We're partnered with some ministers out there, and we disciple 130,000 students a month. We're allowed to go into 155 different schools and preach the gospel. This Thursday is a day I get to meet with them. The school starts there, and so it put me up on a big green screen, and I get to talk to all the children. So it's a pretty cool thing, man. Been doing that for about 6 years now. But I've had to learn to balance that with the business without losing my family, without losing my health, without losing my peace, without doing all of those things. I've had to just walk out every stage that I've had to build. I've been stuck. I've been confused. I've been overwhelmed. I've been carrying everything alone at some point, right? Carrying the vision without people sharing the weight, and just wondering why pushing harder wasn't good enough. You know, why being disciplined is not good enough. Learning rest is part of growth, and learning to, someone said it earlier, right? Not really turn my phone off at 5. You can turn your phone off at 5. It'll be okay. I promise. We can create a system where you feel safe enough that you can go spend time with your family and enjoy your rest time. And so I had to learn, man, and I had to learn that all of that is useless if your body's falling apart. So you gotta learn how to take care of yourself as well, right? And so everything I've created is I was a template first, and now all the clients that I go through or that I get, they have all kinds of similar experiences. Instead of just pulling one, I'll tell you that it's me, right? And if you are where I was and you want to get to where I'm going or where I'm at or where I've been, then come on, man. Let's go figure it out. I mean,
I love that. Really, really cool story. When we get off here, remind me, I have a good friend of mine who owns a nonprofit that he launched last year called Hope Springs International. And they focus specifically on education and services and resources in Africa. And they're based out of, he goes to my church out here where I live in Virginia. So, but retired Marine after 23 years, I think. And just doing some really cool things. But yeah, if you're doing stuff out there in Africa, I actually know a lot of people that are doing different things out there. Education, ministries. It's crazy how a lot of people are doing stuff out there. So congratulations. That's awesome. Love hearing what you're doing. All right, Trey, tell us how you're helping people make a big difference.
I love how you tried your best to make that exciting. You're like, okay, we're gonna hear from the
It's
payments
marching
guy now.
processes. It's like, okay,
Yeah,
I'm
like
to save money.
calm down, man. Calm down. Okay. So my favorite story is actually is a CPA firm or a tax and accounting firm, and they're not my biggest client, they're not my smallest. They're doing about 50 grand a month in cars, and actually got referred to me through an acquaintance because he had a larger disputed transaction, kind of similar to the one that you were speaking about earlier. And I helped him resolve that. He ended up coming on board. And the coolest part is like what happened to his business after he worked with me was actually the really cool part. So we ended up saving about 18 grand a year in overall costs, which he then turned around and used that money to hire a marketing firm. Then he 10x'd that revenue. So it was just kind of the first domino or a springboard because he'd been in business for years and wasn't doing bad, but was just kind of treading water. But it really launched him forward where he was able to hire, an executive management team and really start scaling the business at that point. So that's probably my favorite story.
I love that. Congratulations. I mean, anytime you can save some money on merchant processor fees, that's huge. I mean, like we talked about earlier, there's a small little percentages that make a big difference. I mean, gosh, when I see I hit my account every month, I'm like, man, this is stupid. I hate paying all those fees, but it's part of running business. But I know there's better ways. So congratulations. All right, for me, I have a lot of stories, but one that I love telling that it's like I could share stories about myself and stuff like that, but I one particular, her name is Elle, and it was before COVID, so I think it was 2019 or maybe 2020 before COVID happened, and it was the beginning of December. She came to me and wanted help with their business. So she was transitioning on from being an online fitness coach for women to where she was going to help women entrepreneurs with social media content and things like that. And she was already planning an event like later in that month. I don't know if it was like December or January timeframe. And I evaluated everything what she was doing, and I was like, at best you may close about $5,000, $10,000 from doing this, but you could do better. And her biggest thing was honestly her own belief. Like she did not believe that what she was offering was even valuable on the market. And so I had to really shift and be like, hey, this is what the market's doing. This is what your competition is selling, and you're offering way more and with a better product than what these people are doing, and you're just selling yourself short. And so I evaluated her entire presentation, her event, and everything like that. And but before I go into like her numbers, I want to make this statement too. Anyone can host an event. Like you say, okay, cool. We bring people together, we host an event, we do it. But I will tell you a higher percentage. I don't know the exact percentage, but I would say a higher percentage, probably upwards of high 80s to 90s, fail at doing their events and lose massive amount of money and opportunity because they don't know the specifics of how to actually host a good event to make it profitable. And most people that I know that host events, I have a client in our BLN community. I won't mention her name, and She helped host an event for some big online people that you guys would know their names, and they were more than a couple $100,000 in the hole for the event, and she still didn't get paid for her portion of helping with the event. And it shows you even top gurus hosting events that you like, names that you know that are hosting events are failing at doing events because they don't know specific foundational pieces of what to do and how to do it right. Anyone can get people into a room, talk, do different things, and give a pitch that no one wants to buy, and lose. But it's how you structure it from the start to finish of an event to make it a profitable. And I've been able to master this like very, very well for myself. I know from before I even get to the event itself whether I know it's going to be a winner or whether it's going to be a failure. But I will not go to an event unless I know I'm at least going to break even and make a little bit of money. And so this one client, I had to shift her own belief for let her know, like, hey, you know what? You're more than this product that you're even selling for. We need a more than 10x the prices that you're going to do. We need to shift your presentation. So we had to shift her mindset and her belief. We had to shift her messaging on what she was even presenting, but then we had to change her offers. And when we did that, she closed $109,000 from that one event. $109,000. Her life completely changed. This was a launch of a brand new program. So she was going from the fitness space to helping other entrepreneurs with doing creatives, and she closed $109,000. I was like, this is awesome. So I proved to myself that day, I was like, it's not just me that's doing it. Now I got other people that can do the six figures from the events, which I've been able to do multiple times for myself. And seeing her and a bunch of other people do it, it just kind of like Claudia, it's stories like that that light me up and like, this is why I'm doing it, because now her life was changed after that. And she's been on fire ever since, and I just love watching her go out there and do it. So cool. Well, Crystal, tell us the type of people you want to work with and what's the best way for them to get in touch with you.
Yeah, I love working with entrepreneurs, big or small. I've written marketing budgets as low as $2,500 a year, all the way up to $1 million a year. So that is something that I specialize in. We have a proprietary marketing roadmap process that I can put through almost any industry and show you what you should be doing with your marketing to make the best impact. So the best place to find me and find out more information, I'll point you to a free resource on our website, oakscreativehouse.com, and it's OAKES. We have a free masterclass that you can watch that I break down the philosophy of why I believe marketing should be done a specific way for small business.
Very cool. I love that. Joseph, who do you want to work with and what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, man. So with the rise of AI, I, I I love connections over automation still. So I do have a free assessment that, allows builders and visionaries to come and hear, possible next steps. But there's no automation for that. You do have to get a hold of me or one of our coaches and directly ask for it, just so that we can have a name to name, face to face basis to say, hey, look, here it is, right? And it's not, you're not on a spreadsheet where it's like, hey, we got your input. It's like, hey, we talked to you. You asked for this, right? And so send me a message. Send me a message.
Very cool. Trey, who do you want to work with, and what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Man, I love working with online service-based businesses. It could be B2B, it could be B2C as well, some contractors and service-based companies like that. But I especially like working with businesses where they offer a results may vary type of service because there's a higher risk associated with that, and there's some underlying problems that they may not be aware of that we can help kind of avoid some problems later. Your marketing firms, SEO, coaches, consultants, that type of thing, kind of like a special thing for me. I like working with them. The best place to get a hold of me is freemerchantscore.com. I put together this 2-minute, 15-question assessment. It's really cool. You get a custom report at the end of it that gives you actual action steps. You know what I mean? So you can find out where you're bleeding at, where the potential risks are, and how to fix them.
Cool. Love that. Claudia, what about you? Who do you want to work with, and what's the best way for them to get in touch?
I can work with anyone that wants a change, that they're just ready for a transformation. They may not know what that looks like. It doesn't have to necessarily be weight loss, but they just know that their current life is not sustainable and they're needing some support. to returning to their body and returning to systems that will actually help them get out of survivor mode and into thrive mode. The best way to reach me is my website. It's www.newbodylegacy.com. And you can look through, take a look at my philosophy, my mission, what we offer, and the different type of coaching that I offer. I also published a book in 2025. So that first book is there. You can kind of read into a little bit more about the culture and the mission and what we want to accomplish with New Body Legacy. And it's one of 5 books. So there's more to come. Really excited about it. So that's the best way to reach me.
That's awesome. Love that. And for me, you know, I love working with small business owners, those that are looking for a community to connect with other entrepreneurs, and they can just be part of our BLN network in our community. We have that option for there. Or those entrepreneurs that are saying, hey, you know what? I want to know how to leverage micro one-day events to really generate more leads, close more sales, or increase retention inside of their business. And so if anyone's out there wanting to know how to build a profitable in-person experiences, I would love to talk with them. And they can download my free one-day events conversion blueprint just by going to theonedayevent.com. That's theonedayevent.com. And they can download the free resource and get in touch with me, and we can kind of go from there. So everyone, thank you so much for coming here today and sharing what you do. I really enjoy this time together. And for anyone out there, if you like to get in touch with them, make sure you jot down their resource or the best way to get in touch with them. And until next time, Semper Fi.